Everyone who watches the regular feed's probably like, what is this? That's right. We're giving you a freebie, everyone. You keep hearing us talk about our Capes and Lunatics Patreon account where we talk all things Star Trek. Well, here's a free one for you. The first one's free, remember. Anyway, for those of you who've never listened to the Star Trek stuff, yes, I am your captain, Phil. Joining me as always, my first officer, spends all her time in 10 forward. It is.
Hey y'all, it's Love Hellfire. Captain, my dear captain.
And my science officer, you can tell by that mustache, it's Lieutenant Commander.
Charlie, the Professor Esser.
And of course, my security officer, hairier than any Klingon you'll ever see. It is Lieutenant Commander
Matt Kona. Hi, everyone. I've got my little Ferengi demanding your profits. Give it to me.
Yay.
Yes, send us your profits.
Yes, give us your profit. That's why we're giving this away for free.
First one's free. That's how you get them hooked.
Oh, should have
You
found
should
the
know
drop.
that. Basic
All Latin
business.
on Patreon.
Should have found the drop. That we're like, there's no profit in this. Anyway, yes. All right,
Feel
so
my lobes.
whoa. I talked over it. Anyway, yes, we're here to talk the first 4 episodes of Star Trek Lower Decks. I didn't even get to watch the 4th episode. I watched the 3rd one today. I didn't get a chance to see the 4th, but
Well, maybe we could tease the 4th because I barely
Okay, good.
had a
I'm glad
chance
I
to
wasn't
watch
the
it
only
all
one.
anyway.
oh, okay.
Okay. Gee, I'm sorry.
That's a great
I read the
example.
assignment. So okay. So we won't talk about the 4th. Let me just say the 4th episode it has some nice dynamics. But I really think the first 3 episodes give you the strong arc of it. Where you do see how we're going to establish and present everyone and get through it. The 4th episode builds off of what we established in the 3rd episode, but then gets more into the dynamics between Mariner and the captain, which I think actually play out quite nicely and is well worth the watch. So I hope you guys all do. We'll talk about that later. And,
Keep your notes, Charlie. Keep your notes.
I got my notes. Don't worry. It was good. It's
Whoa,
good.
I thought this was a no-note zone. I was berated
Oh,
for
man.
bringing
Although,
notes
man,
to the
there's a
table the first
quality.
time.
So there is this one, because this is actually the one quality I really wanted to talk about episode 4. And I think you guys can gather it in, but there's a quality in episode 4. I won't go into the details where I believe her name is Devi, the Orion, the green one, the green nurse.
Mm-hmm.
Devana? Is it Devana?
What?
Is it
Devana?
Devana?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she is an Orion. And for those who don't remember, the Orions were originally the Orion slave girls, or the Orion green animal women, if you want to go all the way back to the cage. And there is something that's said about them in the original series about Orion women, basically their need to please. And they do lean hard into that with her in this idea that she wants everyone to like her to the point where it becomes kind of a unhealthy obsession for her. And I thought it was an interesting way to kind of split the difference of the classic Trek, arguably, culturally insensitive view of Orion women, and what they're trying to establish and how that works in the universe. But it's interesting. I don't know if anyone caught that in any of the earlier episodes about Devani being a little too eager to please everyone, and maybe having too much of a desire to put herself in a position where she has to be liked, otherwise she feels uncomfortable in the situation.
I didn't look too. I didn't look that.
All right. Well, I mean, we just said we weren't going to talk about episode 4, but okay. That's
Okay, so anyway,
right,
it's a character theme. So all of the characters do have pretty strong thematics to them. Although right now we're mostly dealing with Boiler and Mariner. Boiler and Mariner are our main. Sam and Diane.
Let's set the stage for people who have no concept of it, because maybe not everybody has CBS All Access. Just to summarize it, it's a cartoon. First of all, it's an animated. I don't know. Is cartoon too? Is there a stigma behind that? An animated show? I mean, it's a fun comedy-esque TV 14
it's
cartoon.
Adult animation.
I was gonna say
I wouldn't say adult animation. Not yet. Anyway.
Yeah, it's like
TV
14.
Morty. Let's not get carried away here.
Well, no, I know. In episode 3 today, it said it was TV 14 for violence. I mean, it wasn't like it's not like
I mean, there's censored swears.
Does even know? Like, I feel like the censors are like the movie censors at this point. Like, really, you call this rated R? Back in my day, this was PG-13.
Yeah.
Nobody tell Rob.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's all right. I can't. I don't know. I haven't embraced it fully. I don't know, just because it's Star Trek and I'm not used to like funny Star Trek. I mean, even on the series, you'll get like a joke or two, but it's just like this is a little.
Because all of Voyager and Enterprise is a joke to me. Boom!
Whoa! It's not like a mic drop, like a mic thrown across.
I kid. We all in this household we love Janeway, but that's the only thing I love about Voyager.
God, tell me what the Janeway maneuver is.
That was a good one. It sounded like she dropped the microphone through the bridge into the lower decks. Yeah.
And I feel like we named our podcast too soon because come on, their ship's the least significant in Starfleet. Like, I just feel like maybe if we had a time machine, we would go back and rename the podcast.
Wow, kick us in the pants, Lilith.
Oh, come on. Self-deprecating humor is relatable. Come on, Philip.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is what Capes is based on. I'm pretty sure.
You're a damn millennial. The rest of us are Gen X or whatever. We don't recognize our shortcomings.
BS. I mean, well, yeah, you guys want to admit to being hipsters, so maybe you're onto something. That's another discussion for another time.
So you're saying we should have named the show the Cerritos?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Well, obviously, what is obvious is this show is meant to be the answer to the Orville, which is kind of funny in the
Orville
sense that
did it better.
Yes, and Orville is actually getting more dramatic as they've moved on, whereas this is now getting more kind of ridiculous in its comedy, which maybe it's niche. I think throughout it there is a quality that suggests that this ship is not. This is, and I think I've made this comment before. This is McHale's or this is Sergeant Bilko or McHale's Navy to Orville's MASH. That both are funny, both are going to be wacky and have kind of silly situations that happen, but and broadly drawn characters at times, but that Sergeant Bilko was always about the jokes and the situations and the gags, whereas MASH really did want to tell a story about the characters beneath it. Now, there is characterization here, and as I say, I can see how they're going to give us more characterization as things go on. As things go on, we are going to get deeper into each of these people and their own issues, and we do get a lot of interesting things. One of the things I really want to know is how how our engineer got the Vulcan implant, because he clearly has been hurt bad.
Hey, you know how those Vulcans are, sticking stuff in people.
Well, yeah, I know, but it is it and I'm Sam Rutherford. That's the ensign. Yes, Sam Rutherford has a new Vulcan cybernetic implant, which he says in the first episode, is messing with his emotions because it's not letting him feel emotions, which is also makes you wonder why would they install that in this guy. But you can see he obviously got caught in some kind of tragic plasma fire accident that has damaged his head and possibly part of his brain significantly. And so there is clearly a tragic backstory that we just haven't gotten yet. But I imagine we will get it.
I don't think it'll be that tragic though. The way that they're.
Well, you never know. You never know with these kinds of shows, and that goes into what I was saying with Devani and the idea that there may be a deeper cultural thing that they're going to explore through the humor. Sergeant Bilko was all laughs, but they actually still had heart for their characters. There were times where they work between all of the characters to build their own lives within their own broad comedy thing. So even Doberman gets a love story. Everybody's going to get a story where they get to be a character worthy of our appreciation, I think. At least that's the hope, and we'll see where they go with this. But so that's interesting. The character of Mariner is probably the worst thing on the show because she is so cocky in the first 2 episodes, and she never stops being cocky.
But is she just hiding her pain?
Well, I mean, she clearly has a lot of pain because clearly her relationship with her mom and dad are both really messed up.
Oh yeah,
she's clearly a Starfleet brat whose parents obviously promoted out to other ships. So right there, it may be even this kind of situation where her parents aren't even divorced, but they never are together. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if they are divorced. They may have mentioned that in the first episode or not. But we do get the reveal that the captain, I believe it's Captain Carol or Carol something. I have the Wikipedia page up here. Carol Freeman. Captain Freeman is in fact Ensign Mariner's mom. And she does not want her daughter on her ship because her daughter is problematic.
Have we learned nothing from the Wesley incident? Have we learned nothing?
Well, to be fair, Wesley was. I mean, he was not this cocky, and he also wasn't. She really grates on me the wrong way, and the second episode really makes her awful. Because and I guess it's actually Boimler, not Boiler. I'm not sure. I thought it was Boiler every time I heard them say it, but Boiler, of course.
Boimler.
So it is Boimler.
Yeah, Boimler.
Okay, yeah. So Boimler he's a typical nerd, super nerdy, which is fine, and
okay, wait. He's meant to be the adorable character just simply because of who the voice actor is, which is Jack Quaid, which is Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan's kid. So just keep that in mind.
I mean, he's not that adorable. He's actually really he's very Sheldon Cooper-esque. Where except that he's friendlier. He's very friendly. He's all in his own head.
He's the adorable misogynist. The adorable misogynist.
It's CBS. It's CBS. They need like a Sheldon Cooper on every show now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think he's a misogynist in it. I think, and you can disagree with that. But, I don't see anything that makes me think he's a misogynist. I think he just really hates Mariner because she is so freewheeling, as it were. And yes, in episode 2, that is like the worst aspect of it. And that is why, like, episode 2 killed me on this series. I did not want to watch this anymore. I suggested this as episode 1 because episode 1 is kind of cute. It's like what if you did a Sergeant Bilko for Star Trek, And I could see that. It's wacky, it's zany, it works for me. And then the second episode is literally all about how the guy who is very knowledgeable about things, who's really dedicated to his work, is completely incompetent, and the person, the complete slacker, is like super hyper competent and is cool and is doing all the things. Because you got to throw out the book because there's books for jerks. Why are you reading books all the time? And I just thought that is like the most disgusting thing. And there is a thing at the end where he kind of gets a redemption, but then they also make him into a huge Sheldon Cooper about it. And it's like, oh God, that it was just the worst ending of the worst setup where, so not only do you have what turns out clearly to be Mariner just throwing him a bone and being, kind of tee-heeing her way to make him feel like a big, strong man, which is disgusting in its own right. But then when he has that moment to be a gentleman about it, he instead decides to be Gaston. And it's just, it is abysmal. So if you can not watch the second episode, I highly recommend it. The second episode of the 4 is the abomination that should not exist.
Oh.
Does anyone disagree?
I didn't find it that bad.
What, the second one?
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, I'm not like this isn't my kind of flavor for Star Trek, and like it kind of annoys me that this is like a lot of people's first like taste of Star Trek. Like I was reading a lot of reviews, and I was on Twitter and Reddit, and it's kind of a shame. Like I don't think that this puts the best foot forward for the Star Trek franchise. But then I felt like that about the movies by freaking J.J. Abrams. I mean, but whatever keeps the franchise alive.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's anyone who's been here for Star Trek for a while, I don't think it's their favorite. But not you bring it up. Do you think it's supposed to be like a gateway drug for people who weren't in the Star Trek before, maybe like some of the young people?
Absolutely, this is who it was made for. This wasn't really made for. Yeah. Like there are tons of really cool Easter eggs if you've seen like the whole entire franchise. I like that all encompassing aspect of it so far, but it's kind of like Arrow. This is Star Trek's very Arrow. There we go. Not quite. There's a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of love, but not really. Straight up cash grab. There, I said it.
I mean, it seems like it's going to be its own little island because none of the other series are going to reference it at all.
Yeah, you can't always assume that.
I hear that it's doing very good on CBS, all that stuff. So
and for what it's worth, like I said, it's like this. MASH isn't going to mention Sergeant Bilko necessarily, but if they were in the same franchise, I could absolutely see some kind of reference to the Ford, or so I could hear someone make mention of, oh yeah, I was I served briefly on the Cerritos. There's some weird people there, I could see that coming into an episode.
Because remember, Arrow and Big Bang frequently referenced each other in very subtle ways. So just keep that in mind.
Bazinga.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say I'm kind of on the same page with Lilith. Like, I didn't find it. I'm taking this sort of with a grain of salt. I don't really think it's supposed to be a gateway for fans to check out old Star Trek or even the new stuff that's on CBS All Access. I think this is more for parents who grew up on Star Trek and they want to show their kids something that they'd like, and then maybe they could convince the kids to watch a couple episodes, or it's like watching a Pixar movie that's majorly marketed for kids, but there's some smart jokes in there that the adults can still enjoy. And so when you get an O'Brien reference or dilithium crystals and things like that, you're like, yeah, it makes them feel a little nostalgic, even though it might not be for them. Like, it might not be for the people like us, and Charlie, obviously you have some harsh
opinions.
feelings, opinions,
Well, I mean,
and
not
you're entitled to
harsh
them.
because, like I said, I think the third episode gives me what I wanted from that second episode, which is we get to see Boimler really in his moment, where his obsession and his desire to just prove what a great Starfleet person he can be really comes into its own, where you really get to see his nerdery pay off, and I think that on that same level, Mariner, does finally have her choices come back to show you don't know as much as you think, and that there is that the people, just because you hate commanders doesn't mean they haven't earned the right to be there. And I think that is that of course the central thing with the first officer, trying to see what his name is.
The guy with the beard.
Rutherford.
Is it
What?
or Ransom? Or is it
Ransom? That's right, Ransom.
played by Jerry O'Connell.
When she's with Ransom. Yeah, and Ransom essentially proves himself to be a very capable officer. That that as much as wants to really suggest, that Mariner really wants to suggest that all of the officers are idiots and they don't know what they're doing, and and of course Ransom is meant to be a Kirk. He is meant to be Kirk in every way, where he just assumes he's right about things. But then when the chips are down, he actually proves himself to be every bit as capable as as a first officer should be. And that is one of the things I love about that episode, where she actually gets that grudging respect. But then, of course, Ransom proves himself to be a complete jerk, and instead of acknowledging a mutual respect, kind of does to kind of basically pulls the rug out from under Mariner to say, yeah, now you're in the brig, and for disobeying my order, which is again stupid and ridiculous, though not necessarily outside of the character that is established for him, because we're supposed to see him as this Kirk-like character, but that's not actually Kirk. Where Kirk really would be reasoned and intelligent. This is a guy who's just kind of a very capable, jerky kind of guy. And I think that's what this show is trying to give you this idea of, is that Starfleet is the best of the best, but they're also still people with a lot of quirks and characteristics that, a lot of time are going to grate on people and aren't going to be correct. I remember there was, I think it's when Picard gets captured by the Borg, and then the Enterprise has that new captain who's very why aren't you in uniform, Deanna Troi? What kind of ship does he run here?
He gets captured by the Cardassians. Yeah.
Oh, the Cardassians. That's what that was. Okay, I forget which episode that was, but I like the fact that they. I'm sorry,
Captain Jellicoe.
Oh yeah, Captain Jellicoe. Oh, he's a Jellicoe captain. Sorry. Anyway, but yeah, but I like the idea that, not everybody is going to be, not every ship is going to have that group of people that connects on just the right level. And arguably, the Cerritos, actually, all of these people, yes, they are supremely dysfunctional, but they're dysfunctional in just the right way that it works. That in the way that, really, you could objectively argue Kirk and Bones and McCoy and Scotty are all dysfunctional people, but they're dysfunctional in just the right way that when they get together, they become a really great team. I think you can do that with. I think all of the shows have that, where when you think about the cast of DS9, Bashir being just this kind of wide-eyed, uh,
Genetically
what was
altered.
he? Genetically altered, you know, spy obsessed kind of guy, and nothing about these characters should work, but when they get together, they work. I mean, honestly, the O'Brien Bashir relationship is always fun, and again, two very dysfunctional people.
Chief
Um,
O'Brien, the greatest officer in Starfleet history.
yes,
Yeah.
which that of course is and for what it's worth, yes, he was. Thank you. That's the thing. And along those same lines, again, that episode 3, we get the codification of the classic miracle worker idea. Which as we got from Relics, where Geordie LaForge is like, it takes me this long to do it. It was like, but how long will it really take you? It's like, no, you have to, which is an interesting thing because clearly LaForge, and although to be fair, that is telling because LaForge wasn't a chief; he was lieutenant commander, which means he didn't come up through the ranks. Because if you're a chief, it means that you're a non-commissioned officer, as opposed to a commissioned officer, which was when you're a lieutenant. So, having come up through the ranks, you know about building in the slack time, and that's how you get to be called a miracle worker.
But didn't they call him chief engineer before? I thought
he was the chief engineer, but his rank was never. So yeah. Scotty's rank was chief. Chief O'Brien is actually chief. It's a Navy thing. I don't know why they do it that way, but it's a difference in the rank that you go. It's similar to becoming a master sergeant, which is a very high rank within the Army, but among the non-commissioned officers. So so it's just a weird thing. I don't know that much about it, but I do know that is, they even make that point at some point where I forget who it is, but someone makes the point that because Chief O'Brien is a chief, it means he took a different route in Starfleet than, say, any of the lieutenant commanders do. So it's just a weird differentiation. So, but
I just think
so.
I'm sorry. No, I don't know. I don't know if this show just rubs me the wrong way just because it's like every other Star Trek we've ever gotten. It just seems like, here's some of the best of Starfleet, one of the best crews. Every show it's been like that. This one, it's like, oh, look at these guys. They're the worst. They're,
But
like
no, but that's the thing. Are they really the best? I mean, that's the thing. It's like they become the best because they have to rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
And in episode 4, you do get this idea that, not everyone can be the best. And for what it's worth, there's always some Starfleet ship that blows up at the start of every episode of Star Trek. Like, oh, let's go check out. Oh, why did this ship blow up? Oh, they drank the water when they went to the planet, and then everyone turned to dust. Or, all sorts of things happen in these things where there's a lot of incompetent ships in Star Trek. And what the question becomes is the Cerritos one of the incompetent ships that blows up, or is it going to be one of these ships like Voyager where a ragtag group of people from disparate backgrounds somehow make it work? I mean, heck, half of Voyager, they're actually in the Maquis, they're fighting, We have a Bajorian security officer in here who I think is awesome. Just because, that big character. Burly... Yeah, he's probably, of the officers, he's like the best officer. Especially when we get the scene where our engineer decides so that he can spend more time when Rutherford to spend more time with Davana, basically switches his entire track, no matter how much he loves it, and so he becomes, and everyone loves him, but every time he says I have to leave, they're like, you're leaving us? Well, great. Find your own bliss. That's the whole point of Starfleet. Figure out what's right for you. Yeah. And and I love that. And I love that. That is how they approach it, how they program it. And like I said, I can see all of these characters being in their own way the best at what they do. But, you know, at the same time, there is this learning curve, especially for the ensigns, or because they are ensigns. They are the lower decks people. And they are essentially, as they say, they are sophomores, you know. Sophomore comes from, you know, Sophus and Moranis, which means one who thinks they know everything, but actually knows nothing. And it's all about how these people have these skills they have learned, and now how do they apply that to learn the things they don't already have? How does Boimler become a person who can be more freewheeling? How can Mariner become more tuned into how to be a proper Starfleet officer? And when you get into the relationships question of in the 4th episode, there's a lot that's given about these characters, what they have to overcome, and how they might do it in this season. So, the biggest question I actually have at the end of this is: are they going to do a second season? How are they going to stay on lower decks if they all become lieutenants? So, if they promote out of being an ensign, you know what happens to the show. But that's the question, and I see a lot of potential. I can see what people do like about it. I can see what people don't like about it. Because again, if you're an older school Star Trek fan, the Orville is better objectively. But I think that if you're secure enough in your Star Trek fandom to enjoy Star Trek comedy, you know, if you like the song Star Trek and Across the Universe, this is Star Trek and Across the Universe made into a cartoon. And I think that's the best way to describe it. If you like Klingons on the starboard bow, this is what if there was a series about that?
So all right, give me your thoughts, Matt Kona, as a professional comedian, fan of Star Trek. Give me your thoughts.
I mean, I took it for what it was. I thought there was some good jokes, and jokes that you appreciate more as a Star Trek fan, for sure. But I think someone who had no knowledge of the previous shows, and especially with the new show. Granted, I haven't watched all the seasons, but it's so drastically different of the. Is it Enterprise, the new one, or no? That's
Discovery.
Discovery. That's right.
Yeah, where they're sticking their cars everywhere.
Yeah. It's drastically different, and especially like this is going back to the older uniforms, the older look to the Klingons. I love the way that the computer is very similar to Next Gen and stuff, because I mean Next Gen is probably deep down my favorite, and this is sort of just like. There were so many introduced characters on that show, and this is just sort of a what if, like what if it was run by there were millennials, and what are the ensigns that have no lines because they don't want to be paid they don't want to pay them royalties when they rerun it a million times. What are they doing? And they have personalities. They're interacting with each other. They bunk together, and yeah, some of them are a little bit more type A. They want to move up in the ranks. So I don't know. I like that. I thought it was like a fun explanation. Granted, I have. I think we talked about this off camera, but I'm lacking sleep. I am working a lot these days, so I watched them with a new puppy jumping over my face for most of last night, trying to prepare myself for this podcast. So I mean, I haven't been watching like on a week to week basis. I kind of just binge them all together to get a crash course in it. So I feel like I'm more in tune to the characters now that I've saw like a bunch of different stuff all at once. And to what Charlie was saying about how they're going to continue it, I think that if they for some reason all moved up in ranks, they would have their own ensigns, and it would be kind of a funny dynamic to be the authority figures to them when they were probably rubbing elbows with them, and they were in the same situation not long before that. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's a cartoon, so there's reason to be hopeful that you can interchange anything. You can add aliens that would be hours worth of makeup if this was a a one camera show or
They
something.
brought the cat people back,
Yes. Yeah.
and I love that. Which is great a great callback to the Star Trek the animated series.
Yes. Yes. And it's the
Yes.
Doctor, right?
Yeah, the Doctor.
And was there was the entity that was like globbed onto the ship? Was that something from like Voyager, like the thing that was sexually attracted to the warp drive or something? Or is that like a new thing? I feel like I'm a
No,
little
that
hazy
was
on that.
actually I think that was Next Generation.
Was it Next Gen? Oh, okay.
Well, there was one where it was like an infant entity, and it was like feeding on the warp core or whatever. Yeah, it wasn't like
Yeah, that was Voyager, right?
Yes.
no, that was
Yeah.
Next Gen.
Oh,
That
it was
was
Next
Next
Gen.
Gen, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Oh, and I realized why I love Jack Ransom. That's Jerry O'Connell.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll never guess his secret identity.
he has to be.
And Haley Joel Osment is in it too.
Is
Oh,
he?
he is?
Yeah, he is. Where is he? I think he's like a captain or something.
Oh, he's probably he's the captain, I think, in the fourth episode.
Okay, that's it.
I'm
Yeah.
forgetting its name.
Because
Yeah.
I started
Moist
to
Vessel.
watch the
Yeah.
Moist Vessel. What a title.
But yeah, I mean, Jerry O'Connell has to be an animated everything anymore.
Yes. No, I realized one of the reasons I do love this is I did think years ago when they did take spec scripts for Star Trek that I thought, what would be a really great episode is if they just did an episode that was all ensigns. And when I told my friends about this, they said, no one's going to want to watch a show about all ensigns. They want to watch a show about all the characters they know and love. No one cares, no one cares about that. And so my dreams got crushed. I could have been writing this 20 years ago.
But Kona was saying about the aliens who could show up. You know who needs to show up on this show?
John Delancey.
Yes.
Oh, he will. If he'll show up on My Little Pony, he'll show up on this.
And you don't have to worry about him being older. It's animation. As long as he can keep the voice going,
Yeah. Well, for what it's worth, the Q do get a shout out in episode 4.
And if anyone can walk back and forth between this series and the other ones, it would be Q.
Oh yes. And if there's anyone to reference it, it would probably be Q.
The only person I want to reference the show and any other show is Q.
And it's like, this is, I've been hanging out. What have you been up to, Q? Well, I've been hanging out on this Cerritos. It's like, oh wow, is it as bad as they say? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But I'm bummed.
There's an episode of Picard. Q. Spoilers. I mean, Q could tempt Picard with I could snap my fingers and give you a real body back, right?
Oh, that would be. Oh, and that would be. First off, Picard would. Not Picard. Patrick Stewart would love that because we've all seen him. We've all seen him in Family Guy. So, sorry, not Family Guy.
American Dad.
American
he
Dad.
does voice the baby Susie, but more prominently on American Dad as head of CIA.
Yes, which is great.
Why is that a boo?
I don't like American Dad. Sucks.
That's whoa. That's probably because you have only watched the early seasons. It has really grown into its own, and it's amazing on TBS.
Because I was going to say,
amazing.
I've watched Family Guy. I've watched
They got away from all the political stuff, and it is just a million times better than Family Guy.
Yeah.
And this is the Family Guy.
I was going to say, I haven't watched any of them lately, but I like Family Guy. I liked Cleveland Show. I liked all of them except American Dad for some reason.
Okay, your opinion doesn't matter. You said you like the Cleveland Show. Get out.
Oh,
better than
Harlan doesn't like the Cleveland Show. Get out.
Better than those early seasons of American Dad.
Anyway,
it's debatable.
Anyway, and you should know she's always talking about how much she loves American Dad. Don't you listen to this show, Phil?
He only waits for his time to throw in a drop. Don't you know, Philip?
Yes,
he's a drop DJ.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'd love to see Q on this. I'd love to see Patrick Stewart come on because we don't know when this is set. This actually might be set during the original run of Next Generation. So they could actually have a real interaction with the Enterprise. In fact, I could see that being the final episode of the season, where and maybe that's where they're the ship that blows up at the start of the episode.
Yeah, I also feel like the characterization of the Ferengis was a little,
Matt Conan was personally insulted.
I stand in solidarity with my Ferengi brother.
Yes. So
It,
and
it, it was just, it was a little, I don't know. I don't know how you want to
Well,
say it.
did you see?
Stereotypical.
Did you see the second scene? Because I know you were tired. Did you see the second scene where it turns out that when he's I'm not a Ferengi, I'm an Ebolian thing. That's actually
yeah.
that's an act. When you see him later, he's actually a well-respected Ferengi who's actually just good friends with Mariner, who she called, and that's why I say it took away the entire power of the scene, and it was just it really bothered me the way they did it. You know, just on every level of it. But yes, so he actually comes back later and he's like, oh yes, quite, you know.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But then again, in that way, he's also not the most Ferengi-ish Ferengi, you know, in his own way, because he doesn't really talk about how much he got paid for it. And I think a Ferengi should always say, well, Latinum's always good here.
Well, I am curious if there were any other, if Nog ended up being an inspiration to future young Ferengi who didn't want to pursue profit, but maybe he was just the exception to the rule. So,
yeah. Well,
but, I mean, we see like little Borg children in an episode. I forget which one, but at some point, I'd like to see an animated version of the Breen, the most mysterious and strange of
I don't remember who the Breen were.
The Breen were always referred to on Deep Space Nine because they dealt with Cardassia and they lived on like an Arctic planet, but they just had helmets, so you never really saw them. They were like helmets with the yellow line through them.
I see. Yeah, because he probably didn't breathe. I'd like to see, stuff with Morn's race. That'd be cool. I'd like to see Morn when he had hair. All those things would be great. But that's another thing, is they could really bring in any of the other Star Trek characters into this show very easily, because they all love to do animation.
Yeah,
and they all love a paycheck. They love paychecks.
And there's no conventions to really get those personal appearances,
And that's why I know John Delaney is eventually going to show up.
Oh yeah. It would not surprise me if we don't see George Takei before too long either.
Oh my!
Oh my! Admiral Sulu.
He's like had some kind of iron lung to keep him alive. Because I mean, if this is even,
yes, I can see. Well, like they put Pike into, just see him roll in.
Unless he was stuck in a transporter like Scotty.
Yes, that could work too. Anyway. Oh goodness! Or just draw him. He's old. Just draw him like he looks now. Just I'm very well preserved. Yes.
Lilith, your thoughts on this series?
I mean, if I was going to recommend an animated Star Trek show, it would be, Star Trek, the animated series. This is just kind of like this meddling feeling of meh. It's like just a general malaise of for me. But anything to get the kids into Star Trek, Not gonna knock anybody who enjoys it. I'm glad that there's now something for everyone in the Star Trek universe. You can like the movies, you can like the shows, and be wrong as hell. And I'm just gonna be over here enjoying Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and rediscovering my love for Janeway, because I'm currently in the middle of a Voyager binge.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yay. That's right. Voyager's great.
But will you continue to watch it even if it's not an assignment for our Patreon exclusive podcast that those who are listening for free can now subscribe to?
I feel like I want to binge it. I feel like this is more of a bingeable show. Like, I don't think this is a wait for week to week kind of show. And I think that's where CB All Access kind of knows. That's why all their shows are kind of like this. They know what people will do. They will subscribe, binge it all, and let that free trial expire. So they're on to our scams, guys. So, if you have something else on CBS All Access that you're watching, it helps, because I don't think that I would just subscribe to CBS All Access for this.
Well, this one's very bingeable because I mean, all the other shows they have on there now, like Picard and Discovery, they're all between like 40 some minutes and an hour. These are like 20 some minute episodes.
And that's the nice thing about animation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of, you know what is that show on CBS? A lot of these voice actors come from that show. I want to say it's Space Force, that animated series from TBS. I recognize a lot of voice actors from that show. And what was it? It's another one that's on
Oh, I think it's Space Force because isn't that?
yeah, it's Space Force, and then it's something FD that a lot of them came from too. I only casually watch that. It's either Netflix or Adult Swim because those are the only places I watch animated shows. So I'm assuming one of those two places.
Space Force is the live action one with Steve Carell.
No, that's Space Fleet.
No, that's Space Force.
Oh.
Yeah, it is Space Force. Yeah.
Oh, then what's the one on?
It's a Netflix show.
What's the animated show then? That I'm
I think I know which one you're talking about, and
But maybe she's in the live action, but it is saying that Tawny Newsome, who plays Mariner, is in Space Force, so maybe she's in the live action one though.
Okay.
Yeah,
I watched a couple episodes of that.
I like that. I think that Steve Carell is great, and I'll watch him in almost anything except for The Office. Don't at me. Don't at me. Don't at me.
That's what she said.
She's Gervais all the ways.
Yeah. I'm kind of one of those.
My first introduction to Steve Carell was on the short-lived The Dana Carvey Show, or the Taco Bell Dana Carvey Show, and him and Stephen Colbert were on it. It was just a sketch show. He was really good on that. Yeah.
Some people say he's the poor man Stephen Colbert. I say Stephen Colbert is the poor man Stephen Carell. I'm just saying.
No, they're different muscles. Yeah.
They're good friends, by the way. They would enjoy that joke.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would.
They're both not poor anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're out of Jon Stewart's shadow. Yes.
Yeah.
That would be a good podcast episode. Okay, guys, convince me. Why are you the better Steve?
Yeah. I mean, I'd be interested, like later on down the podcast line, of doing a recap when like the season ends. We can all binge it together.
Season discussion.
Yeah, I mean, like I kind of agree with Lilith. This is like a fun show to watch like a marathon of. I mean, I might watch it like week to week, but depending on the schedule or life in general, it's not like must stream TV.
And that's all of CBS's all access shows. Like, I'm just gonna say it.
But this show specifically, if we were gonna review it, I say we wait till the end of the season.
Yeah.
When, Jan?
Although
take your notes, Matt.
I have enjoyed CBS All Access though. Like for they had some, I don't know, like there's some like true crime show that you could watch each episode. It didn't matter like the order that you watched the episodes in.
Is that the murder one your wife likes, Charlie?
Well, she doesn't actually. I mean, there was one. I think it was called Confession or Interrogation or something.
Interrogation, like that. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. And
I like that.
Was good, but I don't know if she's watched it since she first watched it because my wife doesn't do the streaming very much.
But it's interesting, and I did watch it in whatever order I chose, so I took the bait. It was like a choose your adventure novel, but I chose because it takes place over a few years. I chose to watch them in the sequence of years, which is not how they're presented. So I don't know. But,
mine is Twilight Zone.
Oh yeah,
new one. That is worth CBS All Access. I love the Twilight Zone that they do.
Yeah. That's what the Godfather trilogy. I rewatched that and Reno 911, which I really I like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is now on Quibi.
Yes, I want to new episodes. They're like 10 minutes each.
Yeah.
But that's the thing where
Quibi is a mess. I don't even want to talk about Quibi.
Yeah. That's the thing where I love Reno 911, so I'm gonna wait until all the episodes air because if they're 10 minutes, I'm not gonna get like a recurring subscription.
It's basically a chopped up. It's a chopped up episode. Just spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on that note, Philip.
Oh, how about we tease the audience before we go? I know Charlie Esser was saying next time he said we should do a theme, and his theme was Charlie. You said everyone's favorite. What?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I would love if we all watched all of the Mirror Universe episodes and then discuss them as a chronological review of the universe. But we could just say, what's your favorite Mirror Universe episode? And then we could talk about those. Along the same lines, I thought it might be fun to watch The Trouble with Tribbles and then Trials and Tribulations back to back.
Oh yeah.
And then discuss that as a comparison over the years. And then, maybe just pick as a third theme, maybe pick your favorite character from Benson, who then went on to be on Star Trek, and why you love that, and your favorite episode with that former Benson character on Star Trek.
That must be
And
It's
there's
a bigger
lot
pool
of
than you think, honestly.
it is
put out
huge.
tonight.
That is an excellent idea. I think I want to go with the Benson one for sure.
Okay.
Wow.
Am I like the only like 90s kid that grew up on like 80s reruns? I love Benson. I love Mr. Belvedere. I love them all.
I watched a lot of
Yeah.
those, but I wasn't a Benson person, so
I don't think I've ever seen Benson. I like Mr. Belvedere. I was
yeah.
huge, I was huge into
Do they even have
Webster.
Benson reruns anywhere? Let me look.
Did they even have Mr. Belvedere reruns anywhere? I don't see either one of them.
They
They
might
might be on like
on
Me
Tubi.
TV or
Yeah, Tubi or something. Yeah.
But now, the other thing I would say is, since this is our free episode, and we just tossed out 3 different options to all of our loyal listeners, why don't you all vote on which of those 3 we should do? Either best Mirror Universe episodes, which we won't have to watch them all, but we can discuss the Mirror Universe as a concept. Trials and Tribulations, 2 or 3 episodes between Trouble with Tribbles to Trial and Tribulations. I think Trials and Tribulations was a 2-parter, and that, or favorite Benson actor in Star Trek.
yeah, Ray, pick it.
So anyone that's listening, I want you guys to go to our show page. I want you to vote for it. We'll do that next one, and then if you want to hear what you voted for, go subscribe to the Patreon.
Sounds
There
like
you go.
fun, Dan. Yeah. I'll put that up on Facebook and Twitter, and because we do these monthly. So you got a month. Go vote.
Yeah, and if the Mirror Universe one gets picked first, should we all dress up in a slightly different, more evil characters?
Are you gonna
when we
shave?
Or
wrap
in my
up?
case, a good version.
Are
A
you-
good version.
Are you gonna shave? Are you gonna shave, Kona?
Probably not. Maybe I'll trim the beard. I don't know.
He said maybe I'll trim it. I'm not gonna go crazy.
I'm gonna compromise.
The rest
Yeah.
of us, including Lil, will have to grow beards, and you have to shave yours.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I can grow the cookie duster.
Oh boy.
Nobody saw Rob, I guess.
What? He said
Uh-huh.
he didn't say Key West butt tickler. Come on.
It's enough innuendo that it could warrant a place on the Wade's World podcast.
What the F?
Okay. Yes. So we gave you a free taste of Starfleet All Access. So, like we said, if you want to check this out on a monthly basis and help support our podcast, please go to patreon.com/capes and lunatics. And hey, if you want to send us feedback go subscribe. Then if you want to send feedback on the episodes or suggest, hey, we're all for the listener feedback. Tell us what you want to hear us review. Email us, capesandlunatics@gmail.com, or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And you might be saying, hey guys, I can't remember your Patreon address. Well, hey, you can find the link to that, the social media, the YouTube, all of it, all in one place. That's Linktree, linktr.ee/capesandlunatics. Everything is there. All right. First Officer Lilith Hellfire, where can people find you besides space?
If you guys want to talk nerdy with me, you feel free to find me on Twitter at Lilith Hellfire, on Instagram with the cool kids and the hip grandparents at Lilith Hellfire 86, or at Lilith Hellfire 69. Pickle.
All right, Matt Kona.
You can find me outside of my apartment building at 4 a.m. trying to make a puppy use the restroom, not on the rug. Or online at Matt Kona, MATTKNOA, #bags under my eyes.
Did you say KNOA?
KONA.
Okay. I think with
He's sleep deprived. Leave him alone.
I know, he's ready,
K-O-N-A? K-O-N-A?
I know he's ready to say.
See you later, Funky.
See ya.
Charlie Esther.
Well, if you'd like to write to me in that old-fashioned email way like they did back in the 90s when Star Trek was king, do so at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And of course, if you'd like to, you can follow me on Twitter. I don't know why I'm barely on there anymore, so that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is done, but I may come back at any moment, so please follow me at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality.
Bing.
Thank you, Maz. It helps remember how to spell your name if you have a song for it.
Yes.
Jeez. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Again, come back next time. What are we going to cover? That's up to you.
It's a surprise.
No, it's up to the audience. Your 4-week mission. Pick our next episode. Pick our next special. Charlie Esser says themes. Themes are big with the kids. Themes.
Kids love the themes.
Be like Matt Pat. Have a theme.
Oh, I see what you guys are doing. You and your Matt Pats.
King of the Hill was this week. I'm just saying.
I know. I can't wait to watch it. Tristan was watching it while we were doing this. I'm thinking, I have to see if propane or charcoal won.
I don't need the Matt Pat.
He has one on Film Theory and on Food Theory. It's a double header.
All right. See you next time, everyone. Hailing frequencies closed.
Off screen.